and go. Hey everybody, welcome to the Wrong End of the Snake webcast about audio, touring, and the relationships we have built between our second families, our road families that will be reunited soon. Tater and I have had an 18-year relationship on the Wrong End of the Snake with bands like Ted Nugent, Kid Rock, Slash, Stone Temple Pilots, Prophets of Rage, Iron Maiden, and most notably 10 years with Linkin Park. Jim Digby's here with us. Hi, Jim. Co-founder of the Showmakers Symposium and the Event Safety Alliance, a production manager with 3 decades in the live entertainment world, a 4-time Top Dog Production Manager of the Year recipient, and a Parnelli Production Manager of the Year award winner. Also with us is my co-host, Kevin Tater McCarthy. He is a world-class monitor engineer with over 30 years in the business. I'm very proud to call him my friend and partner. He has 8 Top Dog Monitor Engineer of the Year awards and 2 Parnelli Monitor Mixer of the Year awards. I'm Ken Van Druten, a.k.a. Pooch. I'm a front-of-house engineer with 3 decades in the music industry. I'm a 3-time Grammy-nominated recording engineer. I have 8 Top Dog Front-of-House Engineer of the Year awards, and I am a winner of the Parnelli Front-of-House Mixer of the Year. Let's do a little housekeeping before we get started. Please use the chat part of the Zoom app to communicate amongst yourselves and comment. Jim will be keeping an eye on that. Thanks, Jim. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of the Zoom app and ask in that window. We'll answer as many as we can during the hour, but afterwards we'll post a Q&A after our hour event. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and our social media, Instagram and Facebook Facebook is at Wrong End of the Snake. Our very special guest this week is MEEGAN Holmes, and Tater's here to tell you a little bit about her.
All right. Let's thank her today. Why is that happening? There we go. I was hearing myself. Sorry. Let's thank Megan for joining us today. She attended Cal Arts Institute and graduated with her technical theater program in 1993. She has worked in the live entertainment industry for over 25 years, doing everything from systems engineer, technician, monitor, and front of house engineer. She's toured with Tool, Queens of the Stone Age, Gorillaz, Natalie Cole, Natalie Merchant, and Soul Coughing. We've all heard of those people. She spent 18 years working for Delicate. In 2016, she was hired to start the Los Angeles branch of international audio company 8th Day Sound, where she is both general manager and a sales representation to the artists. She has done over 20 years of local festivals and special events throughout Southern California. Her position as sales representative for 8th Day Sound has kept her connected to the touring festival and special events communities, enabling her to maintain a wide variety of clientele. Her role as the GM for the Los Angeles branch has kept her connected to the freelance audio technicians and engineers around the world. We're going to dive deeply into that stuff and give her as much time as possible. We know these hours go very quick. MEEGAN's got a lot to say. I've got a lot of questions for her. I know Pooch does too. And let's thank her and let's get started here. It's going to be a fast hour.
Yeah, I mean, first off, I gotta say, I love MEEGAN Holmes. I love you. You are the best. We always, just even on the level of us being engineers, whenever it was an event that you were running or a part of, like, we literally would turn to each other, me and Tater, and say, "Oh, MEEGAN's running it. We don't have to worry about a thing." So we appreciate that very much.
It was always my goal.
Let's jump right into that. Right off the bat, let's get into that. And what Pooch just said was completely true. When you were in charge of handling a festival, and I guess really you were doing the audio, but we all know you had a hand in really the whole thing, making sure the audio was right, but not just the audio, a lot of other stuff, even though that wasn't your position. But to me, in the festival starting that you always did compared to other people, you started like an industry standard that I had never seen before. You were asking people to be more prepared, giving the correct information and having it locked down, and can't make changes because we've got too much stuff going on here, and communicating that in the right way to everybody where it was respected and still getting the job done effectively and the best job for everyone's artists and for what you did. And other people didn't handle it that way. I really want to know, I'm sure it evolved over time. There's not one answer, I just did this. You added pieces along the way. But why did you really even want to step up, I guess, and do it differently and set really a new standard for the industry? Because I believe that's what you did. I don't think anybody's going to say I'm wrong here, but I believe that's what you did. So where did that start, happen, and why?
Well, so because I started in the 90s, those were the days of analog. And when we did a festival, a lot of the time the festivals that I did had a broadcast truck, and they were broadcasting live to the radio. So in many ways, it was kind of my task to make sure that the broadcast truck also had a fighting chance of having a decent show. Because my client was the radio station. It wasn't any of the bands. Maybe it might have been on occasion, but by and large, my client was the radio station, and it needed to go well for the radio station. So we would patch around, we'd make the patch, a festival patch where all the kick drum channels lined up, all the guitar channels lined up, and they ended up in these big blocks. And if you didn't use 6 guitar lines, you only used 2, then you only threw up those 2 faders. Move forward to the advent of digital technologies and digital consoles, where we thought this was going to be a problem solver, which it has not been.
Just going to bring one console.
It's worse.
It is not solving problems, because there were people who would throw and go on an analog desk because they knew the console and it was cool. Like, you put an XL4 at front of house and a Heritage on stage, and most guys would be like, "Woo! Yep. Nicest console I've used the whole tour. Like, I'm down." But we started getting in digital technologies, and we still tried to do the same thing for the truck. We still tried to do that festival patch. Well, when you do that, you have to start messing with people's files and start soft patching files.
Right.
And so I needed your file in advance to make that festival patching work. So, and I would have people like, I remember Rob Zombie played one of the shows one year, or White Zombie even, it might have been. And Ted Keating had like 6 kick drum channels or something. And it threw my chart off so badly.
Oh no!
It made me crazy.
I mean,
You know?
you're thinking, how could you? You really could only have 2 kick drums, right? That's the only possibility. Yeah, that's awesome. I love it.
But yeah, so it kind of evolved out of that. Then we got to the point where it was like, this soft patch thing is fucking us like on the regular, and I'm tired of it. And the truck can hire somebody to soft patch. And I'm just going to start taking everybody's input lists head on. And I thought, oh, this is going to be great. I'm not going to have to soft patch anymore. We're just going to patch the band's input list. It's going to be so easy. They'd show up with their file, load it in the console. It wouldn't match the input list we got. I posed again. And I was like, oh, man, this is not going well. Because every time I do these, we all struggle. And we all have frustrating moments. So how can I make this better? How can I make this easier for everybody coming in? But more importantly, how can I make this easier for me? And I felt like there was a certain level of communication that needed to happen, and it evolved. Honestly, Smoother a Delicate was the one that encouraged me to always chase the information. Even when we were doing the analog, festivals, if I didn't have an input list and I couldn't get it from the production manager for the show, I would call a management company and be like, hey, yo, your band's playing this show that I'm doing sound for. Send me whatever you've got. Something was better than nothing. It was a good starting point, right?
Yeah, you were ruthless. I was on the receiving end of that. You were ruthless about it, and I love you for it.
Yeah, I wanted to know what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
And what you're bringing and what you needed from me. They also, Delicate being a regional company, they had a finite amount of equipment. Well, I might have to go and subrent some of those mics you want, or maybe you've got them with you. Well, and it doesn't say anything on your input list about them. All it says is this mic selection that like, we don't own any of. It's like, well, I might as well call you and say, hey dude, are you bringing this mic package? A lot of the time the answer was yes.
Right.
Having a mic package, great. And then I'd tell my crew that, hey, don't worry about the mics for these guys, they just need mic stands. And it turned into this kind of, over time, getting deeper and deeper into advancing, as what we call it now, with bands engineers, production managers, also helping people understand the situation that they're coming into. The majority of the festivals I've done are turntables shows. Those are complex. They don't stop. There's no changeover time in any of those shows that I do. And once the show starts, it doesn't stop. Now, commonly those shows too, everybody does a sound check. Those sound checks are usually shorter than their performance time. There's a tall order to get a lot of stuff going on. So if we can talk about a lot of things before you even show up on site, and I can clue you in on the challenges, and we can figure out, maybe I can provide things for you, or you can use our side fills that day. But we don't know any of that unless we really talk. And so much paperwork is outdated.
Let's just, let's maybe for the younger people that haven't done turntable shows, let's just say the advance on that is just a lot more, because if you show up with a piece of gear that you want to use and MEEGAN doesn't know about it or something, the cabling infrastructure on a turntable, it takes a lot of advance. They have to know well ahead of time to get it in place, installed. Very hard to do on the day, right? There's just a lot more to a turntable show than just a normal festival. So needing that information in advance is key, right?
Yeah. And I think, even so, I've done my fair share of riser festivals too, and I still advance the same way. And the only reason I stick with that is because it works for me, and it's been successful for me, and people have had successful times with us, and my crew isn't frustrated with a lack of information. I at one point, another vendor hired Delicate to do racks and stacks for a festival they were doing. And myself and another guy went to install the racks and stacks. And then that company wanted to have us do the festival with them, which was fine. So I'm expecting what I do for my guys.
Yeah.
Essentially.
How'd that work out?
I got thrown 3 input lists. All of them had different coffee stains on them. You know, they were all kind of wrinkled, like they had gotten wet at some point. And you know, I think honestly, he was just like, you know, my boss told me you're really good at figuring this out. Here you go. And it just justified the way that, or my process, or the way that I wanted to do things, and the information that I wanted to convey to my crew so that they could be successful.
Did you,
have their time.
Did you, when you were, you know, obviously this took a long time for you to perfect, or, you know, you're adding pieces to it or taking some pieces away that are working or not, but did you realize that looking at it, and especially doing somebody else's festival, that you were doing stuff way different than other people and making it way better for the bands coming in? Because you said, I just realized when you just said this, you said, you know, I usually worked for the radio station, and even back up even further, Linkin Park did, God, dozens of special events with you, more than dozens, from, you know, a backyard party for 10 people to festivals. And when I always came in, I always thought you were working for us. So I just realized that you weren't working for us. I just now when you said I was probably working for the radio station or something. So
Yeah.
did you realize you were doing that when you were doing that, or is it just something that came natural? I mean, I just wonder. I mean, it's just a great thing that I didn't realize to even this day you weren't working for us.
Again, I'll say smoother and delicate. Help everybody in any way that you can, even if they're not one of our clients. Because at the end of the day, we want them walking away thinking, those folks from Delicate, they took care of us today.
Yeah.
You know? And we had a good time.
Pooch, I'm sorry. I got to amplify that point because, you know, it can't be overstated the value that doing the shows with MEEGAN brought to the client, you know, the artist client, as well as the team. You know, it's not just that MEEGAN was so incredibly competent and has her stuff together, but it's an LA show.
Yeah.
So it's got all the trappings of all the BS that comes along with doing an LA show.
Good point.
Which pulls the team's focus off of the things that normally we're focused on. And we came to know really quickly, I think, MEEGAN, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I'd be all right. But we came to realize really quickly, the more detail, the more data we gave MEEGAN to work with, the easier it was for us to succeed in an LA show and put our focus to these other things that became the band's priority, the artist's priority while we were in LA. So
yeah, I also think it also, on the other hand, became a bit of frustration because when you tried to supply that information that MEEGAN wanted to somebody else, and they didn't use it or take it or follow it or anything, you're just like,
set everybody else up for failure.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, let's take a deeper dive into that, though. You know, MEEGAN, you've seen our show. Our show is about relationships, and you know, specifically between me and Tater. But we have people on that we have had relationships with. You, of course, and I want to know, like, where did this come from? Was it a mentor? Was it Smoother, or is it something that when you first got in this industry, you were like, you know what, this is how I'm going to operate? Because honestly, MEEGAN, it's totally different. Maybe a little bit now because everybody's stolen from you, but when you were doing it, nobody else was.
yeah, nobody.
So where did that come from?
There's other bands obviously that I've toured with that weren't listed in Tater's little bio of me. I toured, I think it was the tour I was doing with Soul Coughing. I was mixing monitors. We had one of those like fly into the festival situations. We were late. We missed our sound check. It was a throw and go. Dude didn't help me at all. Nobody helped me.
It's the worst, isn't it? It's like the most horrible feeling in the world.
I hated it.
Yeah.
And they could have. They sat and watched me. They all sat on a road case and watched me work. And I ran my ass off during the changeover and kind of put in a generic EQ curve into the graphs and started spinning because this isn't digital, peeps.
Smile and dial.
My file.
Let's go. Smiling and dialing.
Yeah, and just was lucky that the band was very understanding that because we didn't have a sound check, it was going to be a little rough to start.
Yeah.
But yeah, as people watched me work and sweat and didn't help me, I was like, I mean, we have moments where we're like, I'm not going to do this to somebody else.
Yeah.
Never again.
So that was a real turning moment for you. That was like, I'm not going to do this. If I'm ever in the position to be in charge of the whatever, I'm not going to do this to people.
I'm going to help you.
Yeah.
I'm going to help you in any way I can. I'm going to help you, even though I don't have anything to do with lighting. I know who the lighting guy is. You're a lighting guy looking for the lighting guy for the show. Here, let me introduce you. I don't care. I'm going to help you. I'm not going to go so far out of my box that it distracts me from what I'm supposed to be doing, but I am going to help in some way. And certainly if it's under my purview, if I'm an audio person on a show and there is an audio issue or somebody with the band that's doing audio needs assistance, absolutely, it's my job. Like, I didn't understand why they didn't help me. All I know is that it really sucked. And it was something that I didn't, look, I was a stagehand for 5 years before I worked for Delicate, and it really taught me a lot about how I wanted to treat people.
Oh, man, I can only imagine.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
People aren't nice. It's 8 a.m. for everybody is what I'll say.
And especially for someone trying to learn, it's you want to learn something from those people who are doing it and stuff. It's tough. There's no doubt about it. Yeah. Yeah,
for sure. Let's talk a little bit, maybe moving forward till now, because this world gone mad is crazy. What's happening in this world right now, and I think that you're in a place to speak to particularly women in this industry. We're in a world where finally there are a bunch of women in our industry, which is amazing. This should have happened a long time ago. But when you first started, it wasn't that. It was very much a boys' club. And so I don't know if could you speak to that a little bit, maybe talk a little bit about Sound Girls, because I know you're involved with that a lot.
Yeah, I do some mentoring work. Whenever Carrie calls on me to do something, I'm happy to jump into it. During this downtime, I've done several webinars with them. One of them was with Adamson. So shout out to Adamson. That was a fun one.
We like Adamson.
We've got a couple more planned coming up. And then I've been working one-on-one with a young woman in Atlanta, Georgia, who is an up-and-coming sound person. She is currently a graduate of Full Sail and is, trying to make her way into the especially during this time, which is
that's
tough. But they've been around since 2013. Carrie Keys, who is monitor engineer for Pearl Jam. She and Michelle Pettinato, who also has a very, thick and lush 20-year career, they started Sound Girls after they sat on a panel together. And they kind of realized that they hadn't met each other. Like, there's this little niche of women, but they had never really talked or known each other or whatever. And I think that kind of fueled this. And the fact that really only 5% on average of our industry are women. That's not industry-wide. That's the audio portion of the industry.
Right.
Obviously, there's an enormous amount of lighting, production, video, wardrobe, makeup. Like, there's, production managers, there's tour managers. But just in the audio portion of the industry, it's a very small number of women. So
sorry,
what's happening?
I'm supposed to mute that.
Hey, we're live.
Yeah, we are. It's Carrie and a team of about 7 other women that make up kind of the fabric of Sound Girls, and they're from varying aspects of the audio industry. It's not just live sound like what we all do. It's also the recorded aspect of the industry, and television and film audio, and there's
is there a way to join the soundgirls.org? Is there a way to join?
Yes. Go onto their website.
Go onto their website. Okay.
You
And it's
join
.org, right?
Yep. It's soundgirls.org, and you can, they're 65% of the members are women, but a solid 35% are supportive guys that we all really appreciate. So
that's an interesting bit of information. Okay, I didn't even. Yeah. Okay.
There's a lot of really great resources on that website for all sorts of aspects of what we do. There's a bunch of learning material on that website. It's a very good resource. And if you're a woman in the industry, I recommend checking out the website and poking around in there. And there's a bunch of women that have been around in the industry for quite some time that are very generous with their time and have definitely shared a lot of who they are and a lot of their stories. So,
okay, so let's dig into that a hair deeper. Let's say, and I don't know this because I don't really hire or fire or employ anybody here at Tater Audio, and but at 8th Day you are in charge of that, and you get the resumes. Am I correct? And you go through those resumes, right?
I do the hiring for the local related LA based work or West Coast based work. What used to be freelancers here before AB5 was passed and fucked everybody over, excuse my language.
Oh God.
Whole nother can of worms.
A whole nother can of worms. Let's go down that road in a little bit, but keep going.
Yeah. So I don't do hiring for 8th Day Sound from headquarters. Headquarters does all of the hiring of all the touring personnel. I hire LA-based, West Coast-based personnel to do the shows that we have and the rehearsals that we have out here.
So
I see an enormous amount of resumes.
Yeah, so obviously they don't get mailed to you like I would put a stamp on mine. Most people are emailing them, I guess, and all that.
Right.
But what makes somebody's resume and just generic person's resume? How are you picking that one out of the pile, or what's and maybe even
how do you stand out? How do you
stand out? Just that little extra bit, and maybe especially for a female that really wants to get a shot, that is willing to just do anything, work hard, just like anybody. What makes that one resume stand out?
I just did a thing for Sound Girls a couple weeks ago that we kind of conquered these topics. I think one of the best things is being referred by somebody.
Right. Okay. I remember you saying that.
Word of mouth is what we'll call it. That kind of referral. We all that were on this webinar agreed that that kind of jumps you to the top of the pile and gets you more attention. Not everybody knows somebody. So the second line is sending your resume and, writing a cover letter. And I don't want to see a resume that's many pages long. So if you've got a one-pager that's really clear on your experience, don't withhold your references. You should be able to put your references right on the bottom. And those people should be ready to take that phone call from me whenever. When people say references upon request, that means to me that you're gonna feed me a number and a name, and then you're gonna prep that person that I'm gonna call.
Yeah.
I don't want that kind of referral. I want a referral from somebody that knows you and respects you and knows about your work. That's the other thing. Make your referral somebody that likes you. I actually called on a referral, and this person did not like this guy.
Oh no! Why would you put a referral of someone that doesn't? Oh my goodness!
That's a blindness to me. That's a blind spot for that person. That person can't see themselves and can't see like the situation that they. I mean, this person told me a story about the applicant that I was like, "Are you?" No way would I hire this person.
You're like taking the resume and going shh while talking.
Yeah. I've interviewed some people that have been referred to me, and they're just not the right person. what makes people stand out to me are when they, it's clear that they have a thirst for information. So especially right now, everybody's resumes should be in tip-top shape.
Yep.
Everybody's resumes should have all sorts of training on it. Tell me you've done Dante level 1, 2, 3. Tell me you've done the Digico class, the SSL class. Tell me that you are proficient in Lake, that you are an L-Acoustics, system engineer, that you've taken the DMB class. I want to know all of that. And there's no reason why right now you can't be educating yourself and building that part of your resume that shows your education and what the things that you know. Solid on-job experience, even if it's at a church, is fine with me, especially if it's for a long period of time. Like, if you worked at that church since you were a teenager, put it on there. And you're still working there, I love it, because anything that's long, anything that has a lengthy period always stands out to me. So kind of sticking with it, I guess, sticking with the job. In our industry, on people's resumes, you don't really know how it ended. So, I worked for Linkin Park. Hybrid Theory.
Yeah.
I did a tour with them.
Yep.
I worked with Delicate. I was monitor tech, and I also flew PA. It was a 3-week-long tour. But if that's what I did last year, it's on my resume.
Right.
But you don't know what happened. What happened was they did the small arena tour that year, and they were promoting, and then they progressed on and started using a different production manager and a new vendor. But it's like we don't know. Sometimes people have a certain period of time that they put on their resume for a band. You don't know how it ended, really. Like, did you quit? Did you get fired? And in many ways, nobody asks and nobody really cares.
Right.
We see a list of names. Oh, this person's worked for, some major female pop stars. They're perfect. That's kind of, you have to think about who you're sending your resume to. If you're sending your resume to a vendor, I don't want all your engineering credit.
Right.
I want to know what kind of gear you can handle. I want to know what desks you mix on. I want to see experience that's, more one-off driven or more locally driven in some cases. Because I don't necessarily need to hire engineers all the time. So
yeah, for sure.
Really understanding who you're sending your resume to. I can tell. Also, making sure that your resume has honest information on it.
Wow, people are sending unhonest resumes to you?
Yeah, I had a guy who sent
business.
me a resume where he had claimed that he had mixed in-ear monitors for 2X, who I knew their monitor engineer. So I went to that guy and I said, giving him the benefit of the doubt, I said, did this person fill in for you? Was there ever a time when you broke your leg or sick or had to leave because of your parents or whatever? No, I don't know who that is, and I never had a hiccup in that span of time working for those two artists. Like, cool. I wrote the guy back. I was like, this is a lie. Stop lying on your resume. Your information's verifiable. It's really easy to say, MEEGAN HOLMES, 8th Day Sound, I don't really know her, so she won't know that I'm lying.
Oh.
I'll figure it out, man, because we all know each other. So
this is the smallest industry in the world, and people don't understand that. It's like, geez. I know. We're at a totally unprecedented time in this industry, and we're talking about this whole resume thing. Hopefully, to talk about when we start working again, that people are going to be able to have jobs and all that kind of stuff. I'm interested, man, it's rough. Like, many businesses and individuals won't be coming back to work once this thing is over, or once COVID thing is over and we're able to do shows and whatever the new normal is. I'm just curious, what's your take on all of that? When do you think we're going to go back to work? What's your honest opinion about what it looks like? Everyone is speculating, right? Nobody really knows, but you, unlike other people, kind of have a connection to a vendor who may be talking to more people to have more information about that. So I don't know, share with us what your thoughts are on all of that.
right now, companies are doing a couple different things that are occurring. One thing is streaming. In some cases, there's an install of equipment sitting somewhere, and it's being used by multiple different acts and cleaned and disinfected, after each round, and it's just sitting there, and it's a long-term rental situation. There are larger artists that are doing a similar thing in their homes, where they have, a small mainstay of equipment. To say those things are happening all the time is untrue. Those are not frequent rentals. The other thing that other companies in town, we haven't been doing, but there's other companies in LA that are installing PA horns and test sites and stuff like that. And then there's the gamut of people trying to think about what they can do right now. So the drive-in concept has definitely been tossed around. A lot of people believe that it doesn't have the kind of return that it needs in order to be a viable thing. There was obviously a show in Arkansas where people stood in groups. They came with their friends, and they were allowed to stand in a little pod, and those pods were all 6 feet away from each other. I said this yesterday at the Live Sound Summit thing. It was a weird looking show, and it was one of those days like when you're on tour and you play a market that the band is just not popular in, and it's a sad day, and it's like look out the audience during the show, it's like, ooh, it's really thin, and it just kind of looked like that, and I wonder how sustainable that is for performers to be able to really feel like that energy. I think right now is a very interesting litmus test for how we're going to move forward, because there are hundreds of thousands of people gathering in the streets, standing near each other like they would at a rock show. And I'll be curious to see if there is an increase in cases over the next 2 weeks as a result of that kind of, intimacy. Because if there isn't, I think it gives a lot of promoters some leverage to be like, look, a lot of people gather in a lot of cities across this country, all over the world. Paris, oh my God.
Ooh, yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw the series, but 200,000 people gathered there. Well, we can't just sit idly by and say, well, it's a protest. It's like, yeah, but it's still people gathering together.
Right.
And that's what's holding our industry back right now.
Yes.
I have my own personal feelings about what's going on in our world with racism and everything. That's a totally separate topic. I'm talking about people gathering together.
Yeah.
We are seeing people gather together, and we have for the past week. So in 2 weeks, I think that's going to tell us a lot. I think it really will.
Yeah, I think it will, moving forward. Hey, Tater, who was, I read that op-ed, the letter. Who was that from that wrote that letter recently?
Michael Strickland, the owner of Bandit Lights.
That's what it was. Yeah. That's what it was. And the same kind of thing. I don't know, MEEGAN, if you saw that, but he said the same exact thing. Like, basically, hey, there's hundreds of thousands of people gathering. If this doesn't cause a big outbreak, then let us work.
Yeah, let us go back. Let us entertain people, and let us start touring again, and let the floodgate open.
Yeah.
Jamie from Sennheiser was on the webinar I was on yesterday, and he defined it as, we've got the hose on with the end folded over. and then the second that somebody says go, that we're going to let it go, and it's going to be. But now on the flip side of that, there's so much insecurity and paranoia about being the first that I think that's part of what's jamming us up, in our industry. And so we, 2 weeks ago, I would have said any venue that's got a small capacity is going to see a situation probably that's smaller, reduced. I was on a call with Danielle from the Bowery Ballroom in Brooklyn, and she was saying, maybe 2 shows a night, where you're still making your capacity, but if you're only allowed at 50%, you do 1 show with the 50%, you do another show that same night.
And what do you think that does for the crew, though? Do you think the crew?
I think it's torture.
It is, isn't it? That's what I think. And you're not going to get double pay. And we're using our ears and all that stuff, and fatigue. And I wonder if we're going to be asked to do that. And I've actually been wondering that. And I'm a little worried about that, to tell you the truth, because I hear a lot of that talk.
I'm really worried about, and it doesn't affect me because I'm a salary employee for a vendor. But what I'm worried about for all 3 of you and all of my very close friends in the industry is the market value for what you do dropping because of desperation, people taking advantage of the situation, you wanting to jump on something, and then how promoters are potentially shifting how bands get paid is going to influence how the technicians and engineers and designers and production managers and tour managers all get paid too. So I worry about that, and the people just coming in and lowballing and dropping what is already at times pretty stupid low numbers and dropping that kind of ceiling down.
I didn't really want to talk about this on our webinar, but since you've brought that up, I'm going to get into it a bit, and you guys can say it's, I'm radical thinking. You're not. I'm wrong, and I would love to hear you say that to me. But along those same lines of what you said, because that's what we know is going to happen. I hear a lot of I'll call them our peers. I hear a lot of talk right now how they're going to stand up for us. They're going to go to the artists and do this and do that and make sure the crew has this now and the crew has that. We all know as soon as the artist says anything, those people they're going to fold. And I just say, we're all trying to do these webinars, and there's a lot of information out there, and everybody's hearing them. And I hear a lot of talk that really turns me off of this industry right now, because people are just saying stuff, and giving people some hope that maybe the conditions will be better, safer, and all that stuff. And I just don't think it's going to come to fruition. And boy, I hope I'm wrong. But I hear a lot of that out there, and it really upsets me. And it seems like I hear it a lot, and it kind of goes down with what you were saying, that we all know that there's going to be a lot of undercutting going on, and the prices are going to go down, and they're going to take the easiest place to take advantage of is the crew, and it's going to happen. I'm not saying everybody, but it's the nature of the beast, right? I mean, Please tell me I'm wrong.
So for me, MEEGAN, in that part of what can protect us independent engineers, as well as the employees of Eighth Day Sound, is kind of, maybe this is a time period where a bunch of major sound vendors get together and say, you know what? We're super tired of lowballing each other. Why are we doing this to each other? We're bringing the whole industry down. Let's get together and say, hey, this is what it costs to have an SD7, rather than, oh, we're going to lowball all the way down into the ground with gear. And once that's done, we're going to go after crew too. So I feel like this is a moment to talk about like maybe how a sound vendor could help in that way. And how do you feel about that?
I'm all for communication and kindness. And I think that ultimately, being shitty and shaming people and being hurtful doesn't really get anybody anywhere. On the flip side, as kumbaya as I am, I'm super aware of the business and how people lie. People obligate to do things and they don't. I've heard salespeople for other vendors defend something that I knew happened a particular way because I have friends in positions of power in the situation. And they're basically trying to just distract me away from the shit that they did. But But honestly, I mean, I would love it. We call it the meeting of the five families, you know?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm talking about. You know, I'm
Yeah.
just trying to promote a little positivity in all of this. You know, Tater is right. It's tough. It's gonna be tough. It's already tough. We aren't making any money right now. Nobody is. So, and we're gonna be the last to work. That's the reality of it. But I also think that our industry has some of the smartest people in the world. And so why can't we, during this time period, all get together and say, you know what, that shit that's been happening for the last 10 years, we're not going to fucking do that anymore. And so I don't know how to instigate that change, but I'm hoping that by having honest conversations like we're having right now, maybe someone that's watching this right now will be like, you know what, it's right. Let's meet. Let's have the five families meet.
Yeah.
I just don't want to come back I don't want to take a step back from where we were. Let's just say that. I want to continue where we were, and then try to make it better. Let's not step back. That's more what I'm worried about, is stepping back.
That's what I'm worried about too, is that like where, we've finally kind of gotten the world to understand that technicians, make a certain amount of money, and engineers of a particular level, in the club touring circuit, make a certain type of money, and how that kind of goes up from there. And this is everybody. This is line designers, backline tech, store manager, everybody.
Yeah, everyone.
Totally.
There's kind of been these sort of standards set. Don't subtract money off of that, because you all are worth what you're asking for. You bring a level of education and experience and real world training that you're worth a certain amount of money. And I tell people this constantly. I said it yesterday in the webinar I was in. Know your worth, and don't be afraid to hold your ground and ask for the money you want. And also, if somebody's offering you a ridiculous, like let's say you're just take a random number. I'm a $500 a day technician, or $500 a day, monitor engineer. That's $3,500 a week. And a management company wants to hire me for $2,500 a week. It is for me to say, this is how much I am. And then they come back and say, this is how much we got. And it's okay for you to say, why do you think I should do this for that money?
That's right.
What exactly are you expecting from me then for that money that you're offering me? Because I know I'm worth this much. So if you think it's only $2,500 a week, why? I think that a lot of people are afraid to ask those questions, and afraid to say and hold their ground and say, no, I've had an amazing breadth of experience. I tune all my own RF. You've got over 60 channels. That's a second person's job, but I'm saving you the money off of that. Like, really showing somebody all the things that you bring to the table that make you worth that money, I think is worth it. And also trying to understand why somebody is undercutting you.
I think that's great. I try to tell people all the time that I have to defend my salary all the time, and the defenses are a lot of what you just said. But my experience, I tell people, hey, listen, you're not hiring me when everything's working and it's great. That's not why you're hiring me. Why you're hiring me is when the shit has hit the fan and everything is broken. I'm the guy that's going to do it clearly, level-headed, and handle the issue and go ahead. Your $500 a day guy is, he's maybe not going to do that. So, anyway, I think it's a great conversation. Jim, you look like you had something to say.
Yeah, I just want to ask it to the group, because we're obviously, this conversation's spinning around all of our worlds all the time right now. And I think that's indicative of we've all got free time to think about it and start having conversations around it. But I do want to ask, what's reasonable coming out of COVID with respect to what's just been said? And, knowing that we may be playing to half capacity houses, knowing that, the ticket values may be coming down, and all these other elements that will influence the scale of where we were pre-COVID. Should we should those of us looking to go back into the same roles be prepared to take less as part of that curve, or are we all demanding the same?
I tell you what, when it's worded like that, yeah, when it's worded like that, it sounds differently to me than somebody going the other way when we come back and say, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this should happen, we're going to try to make this happen, which we know isn't going to happen. If there is a concession made and it's worded like that, we're all human beings and we understand that there is a problem that way, right? And it's a legitimate problem. And you can see that, okay, well, they're making half the money and they're going to do something and you're all going to make a little concession to get back to work. That's great. But when everybody right now to me is saying on stuff to make the artist cost them more money, when we're going to come back to different situations, and getting everybody's hopes up on, we're going to only have 6 people on a bus and getting people's hopes up in the other direction, that is not the right way to go about this, in my personal opinion. But
Yeah.
you speak logically about it, people are logical.
I mean, I'm not by any means suggesting that artists are going to go back at half rate. Right. I've heard rumors that some artists are looking to book shows already in 21, and they're looking for the same, if not more, without any consideration for what's happening right now during COVID. And I think if we are to win collectively, which is part of this discussion, if we're to win collectively as an industry, and those who support this industry, in fact, make its heart beat, everybody's got to chip into that downscaling in order for me to feel like, oh, sure, I'll take less. You're taking less too, right? That's kind of, it's got to be across the board, I guess.
I mean, Jim, in our career together, you've asked us many times, hey, we're doing a charity this week. I'm willing to pay you full, but hey, is there an option for you to not do that and do that? And I don't think that ever met with any resistance when you come at it with the truth. Is there ever?
No.
I don't think there ever was, right? I don't think there will be now. But anyway.
But the flip side of that is all the shysters that are going to try to take advantage of what's happening, right? So this industry is full of some people that, not necessarily give a shit about crew people.
Right. What was your quote a couple of weeks ago, Pooch? Tell me again how many millionaires have called you?
0. Not one millionaire has called me during this COVID thing and asked me how I'm doing. And I've worked for a lot of millionaires. So, I mean, that's just how it is, but anyway, hey, this is a deep rabbit hole, and this is like,
we try not to use rabbit hole on, go down that rabbit hole on this.
Yeah, but this is also, something that everybody's talking about, and I'm glad that we're talking about it. But I also think that we are in a unique opportunity right now, MEEGAN, to be speaking to a woman that's in this industry, and I want to talk more about that.
Let me elaborate on that before you speak. Sorry, MEEGAN. I have 2 friends right now that are watching, Emily Arnold and Daniela Segweiss, both younger engineers and technicians in this business, fabulous workers. Every time I encounter them, totally professional, always trying to seek as much information as possible. Just to them and all the other women out there that are doing what they're doing and trying to just get to that next level, or just trying to break into that company. What is it? What do they got to do that you've seen that would really just help them that one little bit more?
Honestly, it's take every experience you possibly can. Don't say that you are I'm just a front of house engineer, especially when you're starting out. First of all, you're not an engineer when you're starting out at all.
Talk about rabbit hole.
That's a rabbit hole. No, my feeling on that is that title is experience, and it's what Pooch described when the shit hits the fan, that person to stay calm. And in order to get to that level, you need to take on as many things as you're being offered. One of the things that I tried to do earlier in my career was, I didn't like hearing people complain. So I would do the thing that you didn't want to do. So if I was on a gig with Pooch and he just wanted to mix front of house, I'd mix monitors. And if I was on a gig with Tater and he wanted to do monitors, I'd do front of house. And I didn't care. And I took every opportunity to do all aspects of what we do. I think that builds a greater platform of experience and understanding of what's going on and understanding the equipment. The best engineers are the ones that really understand the technology. So never stop brushing up on that. But the willingness to work hard, all of us recognize.
And I
So
want
when
to
they're
try to
head down,
remember.
with their butt off, you notice them.
No doubt about it.
100%.
And people asking the people asking questions. And if to me, it's never to me been about knowledge. It's about relationships. And if they're a good person, you want them around you, no matter what their knowledge base is, and you're going to hire those people. But I wanted to get onto something. We talked about this before, and I want to get it right, and I want you to correct me if I'm wrong. We talked about in the late '80s, early '90s. How difficult, and now I'm not talking gender here. I'm talking about the unwillingness of everybody to let anybody into this business. How tough it was for anybody to get in. People just didn't want new people in. They weren't willing to help them, talk to them. It was very tight. And I want you to elaborate what your point of view was on that when you were trying to break in, because it was tough for everybody. It wasn't just, certain people. It was everybody. It was like a little closed little circle.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to tell a story.
Fantastic.
Good.
That's
and
what we
you
want.
two probably aren't going to like it. Okay.
Does it include us?
It does not include you, but it includes somebody that you revere. Once upon a time, when I was going to Cal Arts, in 1993, I was going to graduate. The dean of the technical theater program at Cal Arts is this guy, Aubrey Wilson. And Aubrey was a touring lighting designer. And he had toured with a man who was very rooted in the music industry and very well known. And he worked for a company called Shoko, which at the time was located in Texas. And I was living in California. And Aubrey said, call my friend ML Procise and he'll help you out. Great. So I call this number.
Yeah.
And I talk to this man, and he informs me that they do not hire women for touring work. That I was welcome to come to Texas and put all the hard work in the world into the warehouse and work with them there, but I would not go on tour. And he was emphatic and very clear.
Intense.
And it went and crushed me. Because here I am, I'm about to graduate. I've been a stagehand already for a year. I want to tour. I want to put the time in that is required before touring. By the way, people, if you end up on tour right out of school, you are extremely lucky. Most of the time, this is something that's earned. And it was certainly earned back when I started. So it also fueled something in me. And a lot of people be like, oh, that's good. And it's like, no, it's not good.
No, it's not.
Because what he did, first of all, was illegal. I chose not to sue him because I really wanted to pursue a career in this industry. And I carried that with me. Now, one of the hardest things for me to deal with, and has been hard to deal with all of my career, is hearing how people love him and how he helped so many people with their careers in a massive way. I gotta tell you, not great. So yeah, starting out and having people give me a hard time because I was going to college, which was a really interesting and unique thing, being a stagehand and having my coworkers tease me for the fact that I was in school. And then asking somebody who I was referred to, referral, like I said, the referrals are supposed to jump ahead. You're supposed to be the one that's like, yes, if this person's calling me and this person's referring them, absolutely, I'll talk to you. Like, I'll give you a chance. And then to crush somebody's spirit like that, I will tell you, further down the line, probably 8 years later, he was mixing wallflowers at a festival I was doing. And I got to have a moment with him, which helped me a lot. Emotionally, psychologically, but it didn't change how he treated me.
Right.
And you want to talk about things that shape the way that I treat people and the way that people send me resumes. I might not be able to hire you, or I might not be able to, meet with you or whatever, but I'll be back. And I certainly won't go out of my way to crush your spirit.
Yeah, totally.
No, we don't hire women for touring positions. Like,
yeah. I'm certainly not going to defend ML ProSize for anything that he's said. He's done a lot of things that I don't agree with. He was instrumental in my career. But I mean, he was also a racist and a bunch of other stuff. But so how do we learn from that? How do we take these boys club people that are still in this industry, by the way, ML has passed on, but there's a bunch of people that are still like, hey, this is a boys club and no girls allowed.
The boys need to take the boys to task.
Okay.
The same way white people need to take white people to task on racism. The boys need to take the boys to task. I can sit here all day and tell you how much that hurt my feelings. I can tell you about the fact that I've been sexually harassed and sexually discriminated against within the past 2 years.
Yikes.
From a client, from a coworker. I can tell you stories that are of people saying things to me that were so incredibly inappropriate. I want you to take that, hearing my voice, hearing how upset I am, and the next time you hear somebody say something derogatory about a woman, you pull them aside and you go, dude, this is not the way.
That's
Don't
right.
do it. Stop it. It's for you to fix this, not me, not women. We're all just here trying to work. It's one of those things like Catherine Vericoli, who is one of the co-directors of the recording aspect of Sound Girls. She said it really well in an interview. She's wanting to be included. Don't make me a girls panel. I don't want a girls panel at NAMM. I want to be part of a panel with a bunch of people.
No, that's right. And that's part of this conversation is I feel like women don't want to be treated differently, and so many people treat them differently in how they a production manager that says, oh, no, she can't load a truck. She's a girl. I hear that and I look at him and go, what the fuck is wrong with you?
First of all, she's not loading the truck by herself, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Technically, ever. You wouldn't load the truck by yourself. They wouldn't send some dude to go load it by himself. So, yeah, she's going to be directing stagehands.
If she can call a pack, she can do the job. Yeah. If she can call a pack, she can do the job. Just like the dude, right? All you got to be able to do is call the pack.
That's it. And actually, detail-oriented, and organized, it doesn't matter.
That's
it.
It doesn't matter.
Oh, that's it. That's totally it.
That's part of the ethos of Showmaker Symposium too. I mean, Sooner and I had a conversation about this while there was still that other conference happening, and she said, I very plainly, I don't want to be a part of a panel that's about women being on a panel. I want to be a part of a panel because I got a talent, period. And she's absolutely correct. And it's absolutely baked into everything we're trying to do moving forward with this idea, this concept.
I appreciate it. And I thank you. And I thank you for the work that you've done kind of exposing the indifference towards women in the industry. This is what allyship is called, right?
Yeah.
This is, I need allies to help the next generations of women come up and not deal with some of the crap that I've had to weather and deal with. I need all the men that are in my world to be that person that is there as an ally, calling out when something's wrong, demanding that things have more inclusivity. We have clients I'm so proud of at 8th Day that demand diversity. It is what we all need to be doing. We all need to be doing our part to help people rise. And I know there are in every industry in the world, there are people that just don't believe that women can handle the situation. It's a male-dominated thing, that it always has been. You know, I have a friend who's a LA City firefighter. She got moved to a station, didn't even have a ladies' bathroom.
Wow.
Women's bathroom for her. And that was within the past 5 years.
Amazing.
There are so many parts of the world that are just, you know, women aren't respected. They can't vote. Their possessions. You know, we're very advanced in the United States comparatively. And then in other ways, we are so very far behind in how and the balance.
Yeah, it feels to me that, you know, not that this deserves its own webinar, but it feels to me that, you know, look, I'm growing still, and I was a clown and you know, have my own bad behavior. And the only way we get through this, or one of the most meaningful ways to get through this, is to put, you know, to have the guys put their hand in the air and go, look, this is how I behave. And then one day somebody told me the story that I don't think it's funny. I'm laughing because I want to keep my job. And that really made me go, holy crap, I'm being a real tool here, and I need to change my behavior. But I think it's the things that men think that are being interpreted as humorous, and really all they're doing is excusing their behavior by telling themselves that, and then having that learning moment where we can get through. And that conversation happens, I think, with men and women in the room, with a man standing up and claiming responsibility for it. Now, how can I fix me? What can you help me learn so that I can get through this? Because we're not going to figure it out on our own. You know that. We're too stupid to figure it out on our own.
That's not true at all. You're sensitive and you're brave for wanting to take this on. And just for everybody that's here, just so you all know, they did not ambush me with these questions. We talked about talking about this. And it actually gave me some time to think about how I want to represent myself, how I want to represent women in the industry. And for me personally, it's a really elephant in the room kind of subject in many ways. And it is very hard for us to take a look at ourselves and own the mistakes that we've made in the past. I have certainly made a multitude of mistakes. I grew up in a very affluent white town. There were no people of color in my hometown, probably still to this day, there aren't any. And to own the parts of my upbringing that contributed to the systemic racism that we're seeing now is very difficult and a bitter pill for me to swallow. And I think that right now in particular, it's a good time to, if you're having an emotional reaction to having to work with a woman, it's time to check yourself and figure out why.
Yeah, for
Why
real.
does it bother you? What's the threat? What difference does it make? If she's as strong anybody else, both mentally, physically, technically, why do you care? What difference does it make?
I see women in this industry that have to work harder than men to get respect. And I look at that and just go, this is the dumbest thing that's happening right now. You know what I mean? These women are the most amazing people at their jobs. You know, I feel like women in general are so detail oriented, and as a sound person, that's so important.
Especially in monitors, I feel it.
Yeah.
Consistency and detail,
consistency,
it's
detail.
huge workers for engineers in general.
It's
and
a
for
big deal.
technicians.
But what you say is absolutely true. It shouldn't matter, and I'm hoping that maybe conversations like these will change it to where it doesn't. So all of you guys that are out there listening, you know, take heed.
I think you know, there's, like you said, there's more women now than when I started in the early 90s. And I love that. And I love women on site doing all sorts of different things, from rigging to, you know, doing what we do. And I think that it's just the more normalized things are.
Also before we go, I told you it was going to go fast. It's like it's
Yeah, I know.
But why don't you? I know you've already dived into it a bit, but let's because we did it at the beginning. Let's go over one more time about Sound Girls. Let's give them a plug. Let's make sure, I guess not just women, that men know how to get to the site, know what their mission is, I guess, and and what's going on there, and just so we can leave people with that, because maybe we've gotten a little far away from that and be fresh in their mind. They can leave us and go right to there and check it out.
First, I'd like to do a shout out to everybody at 8 Day Sound, especially my LA team.
Nice.
Without you. Soundgirls.org. Originally started as a way to kind of bring all of us women in the industry together for support, advice, empowerment, and inspiration. I never thought of myself as an inspiring person, but lately I've been getting people telling me that I am. Flattered and honored, and there are some amazing women that contribute their time for free to share knowledge and information. There are opportunities where kind of an intern level sort of run around with an engineer for a full day situations. There's mentoring situations. Like I said, you don't need to just be a woman to join. There's tons of resources on that website. There's tons of resources not only for the technical aspect of the industry, but also there's some emotional support related stuff there too.
And do they do any training stuff in person? Is there seminars, or are they that advanced in doing stuff like that?
And they've also got a small production team. They've been doing shows and then allowing people to come and learn for the day and shadow people for the day. So there's a lot of opportunity through them. There's chapters all over the world. So and there's lots of meetups and that kind of social aspect of things. They're definitely a growing organization that, I know people have a hard time donating right now, but, it's one of the ones.
I'll tell you what, I'll throw this out there right now. If any, there's a Detroit chapter, me and Pooch are here at Tater Audio, and if any sound girls want to stop by and need our advice or not, just want to hop on the desk, SD7s and SD5s here. Come on over.
Anytime.
Come on over, anytime.
That's cool. Yeah, actually, I'll link you guys up with Carrie too, because the opportunity for somebody that's just starting out to come in and see your situation, see how you utilize the equipment, talk to you, pick your brain, even if it's for a half hour, you are inspiring, you are helping somebody grow, you are fueling the fire for people to continue to do this. And I think that's our responsibility, especially as we all get older and have many years under our belt in this industry, is to share information. And I really appreciate all three of you for being generous with your time and talking to me, and the Showmaker Symposium. You guys are all doing good work, and I think there are a lot of resources out there now, and it's the positive thing that's come from the pandemic, is seeing all these brilliant people sharing their careers and their knowledge with everybody. So I really,
I mean, it's my job. I feel like it's my job to give whatever I've learned from my mentors. It's my job to pass that on. And thank you for saying that stuff. We're trying to do that by the stuff that we did today, talking about a lot of tough stuff today, guys. But it was a really great conversation, Megan. We love you so much.
I loved all three of you so much. I was so very happy to come.
So awesome.
Thank you for coming on, and if this keeps going, we definitely would love to have you back and
Anytime.
talk.
Yeah.
You could take over a host spot.
Yeah, for sure.
Whatever you need from me, I'm here for you. Seriously, and I've said that to so many people for the past 2 months. However I can be of support, please let me know.
Well, then that settles it. I'm out, Pooch. She's in.
You're not. No. Thanks, Megan. We talked a lot about tough stuff today. Next week on Wrong End of the Snake is all about money. Our guest is Doug Kocius. He's the owner of DK Capital. Doug has spent over 30 years in the equipment financing industry. He providing financing to all the largest sound vendors and access to the largest and comprehensive underwriters. We're going to be talking about the financial state of this industry next week. So definitely tune in. Doug's a really great guy, a good friend of ours. We're really looking forward to that.
Fellow
Again, MEEGAN, thank you. What's that, Tater?
Fellow Michigander.
Yeah, he's a fellow Michigander. Yeah,
I can't say how awesome it is that MEEGAN. I just can't get over that.
right on. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We sure appreciate it. We will be back on Tuesdays, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks for tuning in on this weird day that we really felt like on Tuesday that we had to show a little bit of solidarity, and that's why we moved it here to Friday. So hopefully you guys all found us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, guys. Thanks a lot. We sure do appreciate it. Take care.
Thanks everybody.